young couple who was driving by a notorious area in our country's capital. They suddenly find their car broken. The guy gets out and tries to fix it, but to no avail. He mentions something about a gasoline station a mile back, before leaving to ask for help. He warns his girlfriend to always keep the doors locked. After an hour, a man approaches the car and then circles it, scaring the girl. The girl honks the car horns as soon as the man started banging on the windshield. The man leaves, only to return 20 minutes later. He goes by the window and raises something in his right hand. Much to the girl's shock, it was her boyfriend's decapitated head. Then she was even more horrified by what he raises in his left hand: her boyfriend's car keys. The next day, the police find her inside her car alone, screaming and laughing wildly, driven insane by some unknown terror. A newly married couple moved in a nearby neighbourhood. The first few months of their stay were uneventful, but as time went on, the wife noticed that the husband was coming home later than usual, making her suspicious of him. One night, the wife was awakened by the sound of heavy footsteps on their carpet. Knowing that it was her husband, she decided to give him the cold shoulder by pretending to be asleep. She felt him lie down beside her and place his arm around her neck, which felt heavier than normal. She had enough and lifted his arm and saw the leg of a horse. A doctor was riding down the elevator to his office on the 4th floor. Next to him was another patient. The elevator soon stopped at the 8th floor, and when the doors opened, a young boy stood in front of them. "Going down?" the boy asked. The doctor gave the boy a good look before answering. "No, this is going up." He pressed the button to close the doors. The patient beside him asked, "Why didn't you let him ride with us? The car is going down anyway." "He was already dead. He was a patient who died a week ago because of leukemia," the doctor answered. "How do you know he's dead?" the patient beside him asked. "Well, he had a blue tag on his left wrist. That means he is dead and marked for the morgue." "Oh, you mean like this?" The patient shows the doctor the blue tag on her left wrist. A man who was working on a 12-story building found himself going home later than usual due to overtime. He entered the elevator and pushed the button to go down to the ground floor. Upon reaching the 7th floor, the elevator stopped. The doors opened, revealing a dark corridor, and a girl's face peered out from the side of the door. "Going up?" she asked. "No, this is going down." "Thank you." With that, she left. Upon reaching the lobby, the man asked the guard who the woman is. The guard answered, "There are no offices on the 7th floor. It's all vacant. You must have seen the manager's daughter." Sad story, she committed suicide by jumping off the 12th floor. Upon reaching the 7th floor, she got decapitated. The man's jaw dropped. The guard continued his tale, which is why you only see her head when she peers into the elevator. Two teachers found it difficult to head back home since they got stranded in the school during the middle of a typhoon. So they decided to just sleep in one of the classrooms. They asked the guard for a key to a room, which he provided. As they were coming up to the stairs, they started talking about ghost stories. "Hey, do you know a ghost haunts this particular floor?" "Huh, what does it look like?" "Well, it was dressed in white and it had red eyes." Suddenly they heard a thud in one of the locked rooms. One of them went to investigate. She peered into the keyhole and saw the colour red. Two siblings, a younger brother and an older sister, were left home alone in the middle of the night as their parents left for an emergency call at the hospital. A little past midnight, the boy walked to a particular sound coming from the living room. Without waking up his sister, he went downstairs to investigate. As he reached the living room, he saw the piano was playing music without anyone on it. He went closer to take a look and saw that the keys were moving by themselves. Spooked, he went back upstairs and forced himself to sleep. The next day he narrated it to his older sister, who replied, "You know, last night I had a dream that I was playing that piano." A girl, whom we'll refer to as Girl 1, in one of the oldest universities here in the PH, excused herself in the middle of class for a short bathroom break. As she was washing her face, another girl, Girl 2, came out from one of the cubicles and walked to the faucet beside her and asked for some lipstick. She even complimented it, saying, "I love your lipstick, it looks like the colour of blood." Annoyed that someone hotly was borrowing her personal makeup, and to the fact that Girl 2 seemed prettier, with her black hair and deep-set eyes, she took her lipstick and slammed it in front of Girl 2 with a rude remark. "Yeah, you could use a little colour. You're as pale as a sheet. Maybe you'd like my eyeshadow too," she said with obvious sarcasm. Girl 2 simply took the lipstick and returned it to her after applying a thick coat on her lips. As Girl 1 was leaving, Girl 2 asked, "Am I pretty?" Now furious, she turned back on Girl 2 to take a good look at her from head to toe. As her eyes started reaching her feet, what she saw chilled her blood. Girl 2 was floating on mid-air. A student hurried on to catch the last jeep that was leaving for the dorms. A few minutes later, she was the only person on board, and there were only a few more meters to her dorm. Suddenly, the driver changed course, heading through a much longer path. The girl reminded the driver to just drop her off at the dorm. After a few more moments of driving, they found themselves back the original route where the driver is supposed to drop her off, to which he did. But before alighting, the driver called out to her saying, "Miss, if you get home, please take your clothes off immediately. Please burn them or throw them away. I changed course earlier to avoid disaster, because when I looked into the mirror, you had no head." The girl did as she was told. The next day, the girl woke up and switched on the news. They reported that the driver of the jeep she had got on had met in an accident last night, just a few hours after dropping her off. Apparently, the warning was not for her, but for the driver. A couple who was part of a mountain hiking team went with their friends to go hiking up the steep slopes of the Sahara Madre. At the base, the girl slipped on her way out of the comfort room and, due to the sprain she suffered, was forced to stay back to wait for her boyfriend and their team to come home. Unfortunately, a heavy rain fell, stranding the team. The next afternoon, she saw her team enter the large room they had rented for accommodation. Everyone except her boyfriend was present. She asked the team leader about it, and he said, "There was a landslide at the mountain. He was our only casualty. We could not even retrieve his body." The girl cried all night. At midnight, she woke up to the sound of someone in the kitchen. She tiptoed past her sleeping team members and checked downstairs. To her surprise, her boyfriend was there, looking for some water. When he saw her, he approached her and said, "Baby, there was a landslide at the mountains. I was the only survivor." A girl had just alighted from the train and was coming out of the subway. It was raining heavily outside, so she hurriedly took out her umbrella. She noticed that the huge crowd walking along the avenue with her were not wearing any sort of rain gear or even an umbrella. She had a hard time getting through as she had to avoid bumping into anyone. A few minutes later, a taxi pulled over beside her, insisting that she get in. The driver seemed pretty insistent, so she obeyed. After they had left the avenue, the driver turned to look at her, saying, "Well, when I saw you walking like you were trying to avoid bumping into anyone at an empty street, I figured I should lend a hand." A bunch of medical students were learning about cadavers while in the morgue with their instructor. The instructor soon leaves the room after he receives an urgent call. After a few minutes, and he still has not returned, the other people started fooling around in the morgue. One of them even used the arm of a cadaver as an ashtray, explaining, "I'm sure he won't mind." Suddenly, the corpse stands up, took the cigarette from the boy's mouth and throws it away, saying, "Please, have some respect for the dead."
Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. You can also leave a comment below All feedback, good or otherwise, is always appreciated. If you have any creepy stories of your own, or have any topics that you would like me to cover, feel free to send them in via any of my social media. You can find all links to my social media in the description below. Until next time guys, make sure you lock your doors, stay safe, and I'll see you next video.